Morning, this is Brian. Today is Wednesday, August 14th, 2024, and I am back in my beloved Laguna Mountains here in Cleveland National Forest. Today my plan is to try to do another attempt, forgive the wind, because when I turn my back towards where I'm going to go hiking, it's going to get windy, so bear with me for a minute. It's pretty breezy out here, and I'm loving the feel of it. Try to make a second attempt to get up there to peak 5868. So what I'm going to do is, like I did last September when I tried to get up there, is I'm going to go back to the Laguna Prado campground area, hike through that, and then this time look to see if I can find the fire break I was supposed to find the first time, in which I left the campground area a little too early. So I'm going to try to see if I can find that today and see if I can work my way up there. There probably will be some amount of bushwhacking involved. I'm assuming that's going to be the case. And then, if I still have energy after all that, I might try to see if I can find this one spring along the side of the east face of the Laguna Mountains called Oasis Spring. So if I have enough energy after that, and it doesn't get too hot, I might go looking for that. Today, I'm just trying to get my mountain hike in while I can, because it's been very hot up here in the mountains, and I haven't really been hanging out in the mountains a lot this summer because it's been really hot, and San Diego County doesn't have a lot of really high elevation mountains to get away from the heat. So like we're here about 5,500 feet above sea level. It gets pretty hot at this elevation. So yeah, I'm trying to get this in today, and again, bear with the wind noise. I don't have a windsock or anything for this camera. So I'm going to go ahead and head to the campground along Sunrise Highway, bank into the campground, and then start working my way through the campground. And this time I'm going to try to see if I can find that fire break this time. So let's see how this works out today. I'm hoping I can get up to that peak and get up there successfully today. So I'm going to go start heading up this way. And then I'm going to work my way through the campground. So let's see if this works. So just like when I came up this way last year to try to get up to the campground, to the peak, I was admiring the western chokecherries last year that had tons and tons of chokecherries on them. This year, not quite as much, but definitely we do have some chokecherries developing right here on the side of Sunrise Highway. That is so beautiful. These things are so cool. Yeah, this is western chokecherry, Prunus virginiana variety demissa. And some of the ones on the other side of the road seem to be bearing more. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that. All right, well, enough of that. I'm just going to keep hoofing my way to the campground, which is a short distance away, and maybe point out some botany and some sights over there. If I can get my voice down, if anybody's camping there, I don't want to disturb everybody. But yeah, western chokecherry is so common here in the lagunas, and I'm glad it's very common because it's a really cool shrub. I think it's a really cool shrub to have. And the fall color on this plant is so beautiful too. All right, enough yapping, and I will see you by the campground. All right, here's a nice kind of viewpoint. That's the hill I'm trying to climb up there. That's peak 5868 up there. So that's my goal up there. I wonder if I can cut through here. If there's a use trail through here. Let's see. The campground's just down there. I can see some of the campsites. But now I can get a good view of what I'm trying to get up to today. shouldn't be arduous in the sense of a monster mountain climb. It's only a couple to a few hundred feet higher than where we are, but it will involve some off-trail navigation and stuff like that. But this gives you a good view of what I'm trying to get to visit today. So I think what I'll do is I'll just keep walking along the road. I'll just keep walking along the road till I get to the entrance. I could cut through the meadow, but I don't know if I want to do that. So there it is up there. I think maybe I'll take that, maybe take a picture of that for my thumbnail too as well. Alright. So I'm just about to enter the campground. I'm trying to keep my voice down because there are people camping in there. I could smell the campfire thing going. So what I'm going to try to do is, unlike last time when I was here, I'm going to follow it further into the campground and go a little bit further to maybe try to go further west, or a little bit closer to the west or southwest side of the hill, and then try to navigate my way further up that way. Probably be a better idea. Maybe I can actually find where I need to go and actually find the fire break or more open route to get up there. Because when I left kind of soon. I think I left way too soon, and it looked like a big thrash fest. And there was a barbed wire fence over there too. So maybe if I go a little bit further, I can avoid all that and hopefully avoid too much of a bushwhack. But yeah, it's a beautiful campground. Really nice. Of course, hosted by this nice Jeffrey pines up here. And there are some coulter pines, I imagine, mixing in here somewhere. There are definitely coulter pines in the area. These mostly appear to be Jeffreys, though. I don't see any coulters yet, but they're in there somewhere. Coulter pine will definitely be a mix, I'm pretty sure. Alright, well, I'll see you on the next clip and further deeper in this campground. Alright, so we get to this junction. Make sure to hit a right, and this will start heading you towards where I'm going to leave the trail. But I just found something interesting over here. Here's a gray pine. They planted a gray pine here in the campground. Pinus sabiniana. That's pretty cool. They got a little gray pine here. Yeah. That's pretty cool. I don't see these too often planted here in San Diego County. You have to go up to northwestern LA County to start seeing these native. But yeah, it's a little gray pine right here. Really cool. Pretty nice. Also called foothill pine, ghost pine, a bunch of different names for that one. Alright, so yeah, bear right here. Corvids. Those birds are so fun. sounds like he or she's gargling up in the tree. I'm trying to tell if that's I think that's a crow. I don't think that's a raven. It does kind of make a cronking sound. Yeah, I think it's a crow. Cronking and gargling. It's fun. So what we're actually doing is we're heading into Prado Group Campground. There are two campgrounds here. A regular campground and a group one. And this is the group campground. And then again, that's towards regular Laguna campground. And again, we're going to bear right here as well towards the Prado, El Prado group campground. Definitely some vehicle activity in here. It must be pretty busy here all summer. Less crowded than it would be on the weekend. These people are trying to enjoy the nice weather before it gets too hot here in the mountains. Alright, well, I'll see up the way. I'll start looking for my ascent route soon. As soon as I stop filming the previous clip, now I'm finding a botanical piece of interest here. This plant is not a very common find, at least not in my experience, but this right here is called Cleveland Horcalia, and I missed the bloom, of course. If I'd come here probably about a month or two earlier, I could have gotten a spotlight video on this not so common plant right here. This is called Horcalia clevelandi, and I believe it's variety clevelandi, I believe. Horcalia clevelandi, variety clevelandi. And it's a plant in the rose family, the Rosaceae. It's related to this other plant called cinquefoil in the genus Drimocalis, which is far more common here. But yeah, looks like we got Cleveland Horcalia. Only the second time I've seen this plant here. And we got some patches of it alongside the road into El Prado campground. Okay, here we go. We got some bloom action. Right there, little white 5-petal flowers. Oh, buddy. I'm thinking there could be a spotlight video coming today. Maybe. Pretty cool. All right. Moving on. See you on the next clip. Here's another relatively uncommon local variant of a plant species called velvety false lupine. This is Thermopsis californica variety submoda. There's a nice little population of it here. I've been finding that actually fairly frequently between here in the Laguna Mountains and also in Cuyamaca, Rancho State Park as well. I've been actually coming across that fairly often. It's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. I figured there'd be some interesting botany along this. Just here barely in the campground. I haven't even started going up the hill yet. Alright. What else am I going to find before I start hiking? I mean, actually hiking. A couple other things to point out. We're starting to get ready on the California goldenrods. Goldenrods are getting their flower buds right now, starting to bud out. They're going to be opening up pretty soon, probably towards late this month through September and October. And I believe this is Penstemon labrosus. I believe this is beaked penstemon, or penstemon, not beaked penstemon, but Penstemon labrosus, I think is what this one is here. Another type of beard tongue / penstemon in full bloom. I think this is Penstemon labrosus. There are a couple of very similar penstemons that have dark green, narrow leaves and those rich red flowers. So yeah, it's definitely a lot to see as we go through mid-summer into the second half of summer. And it seems to be, ooh, and we still got some blooms here on the white yarrow too. The Achillea millefolium still blooming. So yeah, pretty soon the goldenrods are going to start erupting. And there's going to be a lot of yellow on the side of this campground here. Ooh, Utah serviceberry. Yes, buddy, indeed. Yeah, seems to be a lot of action here. A lot of verdant action. And the grasses are still pretty green up here. I'm assuming there's been some pretty good monsoon rains. I'm assuming there's been some pretty good monsoon rains because it's pretty green over here. So let's hope that's the case still. I can see my hill up ahead, but I still got to kind of round this bend over here. And we'll see. So I'm right near where I left the trail the first time. This is where I ran into the wall of chaparral up there. So I'm going to continue further and look for another spot to get in. El Prado Cabin. Okay. So a little historical thing here. So this is, wow, about 113 years old. Let's take a look. I don't know if you'll be able to see inside. It's probably not. I see an old chair in there. Probably won't be able to see it too well on camera. Oh, a little chimney. How cool is that? That's pretty lit. A little piece of our history here. Okay. So this was, according to the sign, I guess this was the first ranger station. Yeah, there's just a chair. Looks like a table and an old cot. There's an old cot in there. It's kind of hard to see on camera. You see that line right there? That looks like the wooden edge of a cot in a spring. Pretty cool. All right. That sign said it was, I think, the first ranger station here in this part of the Lagunas, or actually in the Laguna Mountains, I think, period. Pretty cool. It's cool when I find little bits of historical tidbits. Kind of makes the hiking even more interesting, and hopefully conveys more of an interesting aspect to my videos. When I come across stuff like that, it's really cool. All right. Hey, I'm gonna look around and see where my cross-country adventure is going to start. We'll see. I still always try to figure out what kind of bird's making that sound. Can never figure out what kind of bird it is. It goes. Kind of makes that sound. But the reason why I came over, there it is again. I like some incense cedars. Oh, look at this. Very nice. Always love these trees. Of course, I say that about every single tree I come across. I love that tree. I love this tree. I love that tree. This tree's cool. I love it. I say that about every tree, but it doesn't make it any less true. That bird. That one. If anybody out there can tell me what kind of bird makes that call, I'm going to keep researching it. It's got to be a really small bird. I'm always so curious about that. I want to know what kind of bird makes that call. All right. I could just poke around the campground. I think I'm going to leave the peak alone today. Especially if there's if there's supposed to be more Cleveland Harcalia around here, I don't want to step on it, and because there's supposed to be a very endangered butterfly. It's supposed to be a very endangered butterfly, the Laguna Mountain skipper butterfly, and I was reading a sign about that's probably that's what some of those pictures you saw were about. So all I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go down to this meadow. So this is going to definitely change the title of my video. Meadow access. Yeah, I definitely want to check out this meadow. It's one thing I don't spend enough time doing is checking out mountain meadows. There's something else that needs to be appreciated as well. So I think maybe if this area is home to Laguna Mountain skipper butterflies, I think I'm going to leave the peak alone and just putz around here and just check out this magnificent looking meadow. Let's see. Looks like we can go through, because looks like there's a big vernal pool right down there. A vernal pool or a vernal pond or something. There's got water in it right now. Okay, this is gonna be cool. This might actually be more of an interesting adventure. Yeah, I can see the soil looks like it was dampened by rainfall recently. And that's probably why there's water down there right now, because you normally by now, unless you get monsoonal rainfalls, there's not going to be much action going on with water. I haven't really spent time visiting the Laguna Mountain Meadows, and that's kind of something that's kind of missing from my adventure videos. I know there's an area where there are really big meadows further south that have vernal lakes, or big vernal ponds, or vernal lakes. Well, Laguna lakes they call them. They're big. They're like massive vernal pools. That, well, some of them I think retain water more regularly than a vernal pool, but some of them dry up by summer dry season. So some of them are like vernal pools on steroids. So especially in meadow habitat, it's best to stay on the trail. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, it's cool to see some water in here too. All right. When I come to lagunas, I'm usually focused on trying to go up to some random peak or something, or up to some of the big ticket peaks. But I don't really spend a lot of time focusing on some of the other natural, beautiful aspects of this mountain range. And there are a lot of meadows here in the lagunas. Lagunas and the Cuyamacas have a lot of meadows, and it's definitely at least in the way I treat everything, is an underrated habitat. All right, so here's a trail. Just stick to the trail. Yeah, look at that. It looks like a huge vernal pool right over there. There's a raven. Just surrounded by tons and tons and tons and tons and tons. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Jeffrey pines just ringing this meadow, which is pretty cool. Yeah, this is absolutely stunning over here. Look at that. Yeah, I think this is a vernal pool, because a lot of the low-lying areas still have a lot of grasses and stuff. When there are a lot of grasses growing above the water level, it makes me assume that it's a vernal pool as opposed to a permanent pond or a lake. It's more of a large vernal pool. So that rainfall, whatever monsoon rainfall has been hitting this area, has been keeping things pretty lush, actually. Hey, beautiful trees too. Beautiful Jeffrey pines. Yeah, this is definitely pretty awesome. Yeah, I think I'm good on climbing peaks today. I think I'm just gonna chill out and enjoy this meadow. I don't know if this is connected to the other larger meadows. wouldn't be surprised if it were, but there's a huge meadow section a little bit to the south, I think even bigger than this, that has deeper vernal lakes or vernal ponds. And you got Big Laguna Lake, water of the woods, and then I think Little Laguna Lake, which I believe Little Laguna Lake is more of a vernal pool than a full-bodied lake. All right, I'm gonna get a few pictures of this, and then we'll just keep exploring this for a little while. All right, so what I want to do is, this is just gonna lead over towards the campground area over there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can pick up another trail, see if there's something that goes along between the trees and the meadow, see if I can explore over that way a little bit. Yeah, this is pretty awesome. This is very awesome. Wait a minute, looks like there's a trail sign pointing. Is there another trail over here? There's an arrow pointing that way, but I don't see a trail there. I don't feel like walking through the meadow and messing up the ecosystem. So I'm just going to stick to this little use trail here. There's an arrow pointing towards that, but I really don't feel like walking over the meadow grasses and everything. I love exploring, but I don't want to ruin the meadow either. kind of makes for a little bit of frustration in trying to get some adventures in, because you want to explore. Sometimes you just want to explore and go through places and see them, but you got to maintain a balance between adventure and responsibility. So I'm trying to maintain that balance, but curiosity is always nagging at me to want to explore more and more, especially because we got so much awesomeness going on here. I mean, yeah, this is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful over here, and I cannot stress that enough. All right, so I came from that way. I'm gonna go head this way on this pathway here. That's what leads back to the pavement. I'm gonna go explore this side here on this trail and see if a trail will lead either around the trees or whatever, but I kind of want to check this area out for a little while more, and then probably once I'm done with that, head across, go back to the Storm Canyon Vista area and try to see if I can check out Oasis Spring. From what I understand, there's supposed to be a population of big leaf maple growing there. Probably one of the only rare spots here in San Diego County where that tree is found. Now in LA, San Bernardino, LA, San Bernardino County, and the Santa Ana Mountains of Riverside and Orange County, big leaf maple can be quite abundant. But here in San Diego County, it's supposed to be very rare. So I want to see if I can find that too. Yeah, there's a nice little trail here too that will lead, looks like it'll lead around this side of the big vernal pool here. Yeah, look at these Jeffrey pines. Very stately trees, very handsome trees. Not extraordinarily large, because these are not old growth trees by any stretch. They're definitely doing very well here. I would think that a place like this, in an environment like this, you'd expect to see ponderosa pine instead, but ponderosa pine is either rare or absent from the lagunas, because ponderosas generally, especially Pacific ponderosas, generally require more moisture than Jeffrey pines. And we are kind of behind the Cuyamaca Mountains, which definitely have ponderosa pines. And the Cuyamacas usurp quite a bit of the moisture that comes in off those Pacific storms. So that's why Jeffrey pine is the predominant pine here. Jeffrey pine tends to be more drought tolerant than the Pacific ponderosa pine. More interior races of ponderosas, more interior variants and subspecies can be more drought tolerant than the Pacific ponderosa. So environments that you normally would expect to find Jeffrey pines here, you would see ponderosa pines in the interior western mountains, different like Rocky Mountain ponderosa and other types of ponderosa pines that you would grow. And those pines are drought tolerant. But Jeffrey pine doesn't grow there. Those interior ponderosas grow there instead. And they can tolerate the drought, probably more so than the Pacific ponderosa, I believe. Pretty sure Pacific ponderosa has quite a bit of drought tolerance, especially if it grows here in Southern California. But I think Jeffrey pines win out by far on that, because these trees can be very drought tolerant, almost as drought tolerant as some of our pinyon pines. Yeah, this meadow continues much more than I thought it would. I'm gonna explore this for a while. There's a very old Jeffrey pine down that way. I'm gonna see if I can get towards that and get that on some imagery here. But this is a very beautiful area here. This is absolutely insane. All right, well, let's see if I can get near that tree. I hope so. All right, I was wondering if this was more of an established trail. Okay, that's area closed. Yeah, see, this is no footprints, no hiking. I guess, yeah, this is part of the Big Laguna Trail. Okay. Yeah, this must be part of that extensive meadow system I was wondering about. This meadow goes on for quite a while. All right, so I'm on the Big Laguna Trail right now. Wow, so cross-country travel is actually prohibited over here, so it's kind of good. I kind of decided against trying to climb up to that peak because there are some signs saying area closed for hiking. So, yeah, maybe I'll just leave that peak alone and maybe not even think about it for another time, just kind of let it be. Because I do, again, I've mentioned before, I'm huge about climbing peaks, and I do like to do cross-country travel. But if it's prohibited, because a lot of national forest areas, you're allowed to do cross-country travel. It's just, you got to make sure you know where it's not allowed and not do it where it's not allowed. And that's kind of me. I do love the sense of adventure, and I do love going off trail to reach mountain peaks and stuff like that, especially for mountain peaks. That's usually where cross-country travel comes into play for me, is when I'm trying to get to a certain mountain peak. That's pretty much one of the only reasons why I leave the trail, unless I'm taking a quick detour to check something out. Cross-country travel for me it's because I'm trying to get to a peak and it doesn't have a trail to it. So I do think about that. But if I know an area is off limits to off-trail travel, I'll leave it alone. I won't mess with it. Yeah. There's some beautiful Jeffrey pines here. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. This is very nice. I always wanted to check out one of these tree-rimmed meadows. This is one I've been wanting to check out for a while, actually, because there are lots of these meadow areas here, and they're just rimmed by some beautiful trees. Keep gate closed. I don't know. Sheesh. Kind of watch your step a little bit when you're walking on this trail, because there are some little dips and depressions. Probably because rainwater and everything, sometimes flooding pounds this area So just kind of be careful and watch your step a little bit. Oh, there's actually a trail and boardwalk over here. Maybe on the way back I'll hit that up. There's a little boardwalk right there. Yeah, this is probably a vernal pool here too. Sometimes sets up. Yeah, this is pretty interesting stuff here. So there's another. Oh, so this links up with Noble Canyon. Oh snap! Hold up. Check this out. So we're on the Big Laguna. Noble Canyon. Okay. Interesting. I don't know how far it is to get to that area, but kind of interesting to know. So I'm also learning more about this area as I explore. I'm learning more about it and how I can potentially maybe link up trails to do some more interesting hikes. So we're heading kind of southish right now. Yeah, we're definitely heading towards where those big meadows are. All right, so this trail's not going to go by that old Jeffrey pine I was hoping to check out, but we got some interesting juxtaposition of stuff here. We got brown spine prickly pear right here, Puntia faecantha. Then it looks like we got, I think that's Asclepias areocarpa, the milkweed right there. I think that's Indian milkweed. And then western chokecherry all right around this nice rock. I think that's Asclepias areocarpa. That might actually be Asclepias californica too. That might be Asclepias californica. I still have trouble telling those two apart. When I go back, I'll kind of look at some literature about the two and try to differentiate them. But it definitely looks like one species of Asclepias. The one I usually come across is Asclepias areocarpa, Indian milkweed. Let me go ahead and snap a picture of this. These might be Asclepias californica. They might be. Don't quote me on it yet. Obviously, you'll see the if I'm able to figure it out, which I'm pretty sure I will. You'll see the text on the screen telling what species it is. But there's quite a bit of it along here. I think this is californica. Areocarpa. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is Asclepias californica because I've seen the other one, and the other one's got broader leaves, and the leaves are fuzzier. And that one, I believe, is the areocarpa species. So I'm pretty sure that's Asclepias californica. But again, I'll double check my facts. I like to fact check myself. And results should be able to appear on the screen. Oh yeah, now we're kind of shallow, kind of in the shallow end of the forest here. So yeah, this is great. This is a part of the lagunas I really haven't spent any time exploring the meadows. Good man, this is beautiful. Look at that. That is just absolutely stunning. Oh man. Yep. There we go again. They're starting to develop their fruits. These are basically called follicles. A lot of plants in the dogbane family, especially the milkweeds and close relatives, have these fruits that kind of are shaped like kind of like seed pods. But what they do is they kind of split open along a seam on one end, and they have these kind of fuzzy looking seeds that kind of blow out. And the fruit is called a follicle. It develops. It gets long. It gets a good few inches long. You'll see on you'd see on the previous pictures. You'll see a big long follicle, and that's what the fruit's called. It grows, gets larger, kind of like a seed pod, but and it'll dry up, and it'll open at a seam, open at the end on the edge on a seam, and then the little seeds will blow in the wind. Kind of look like sunflower family seeds, the ones that kind of like dandelions that kind of blow off in the winds, but they're not related. They're not in the sunflower family. They're in the dogbane family, the milkweeds, the Apocynaceae. I have yet to do a spotlight on any milkweeds, so that is something to definitely look into highlighting in the future. Yeah, this is absolutely outstanding scenery here. This is a great place to hike and botanize and enjoy the forest and the meadow at the same time. All right, well, what else am I going to find along this trail? I think my answer is going to be coming up pretty soon, actually. All right, so it looks like the answer to my question is, what am I going to see next? Looks like it's been answered. We've got a few cattle. Going to be hard to kind of see because they're kind of small because they're off in the distance. But there are at least 3 cows in the shade of the trees over there. You won't be able to see them very well on camera, unfortunately. But it looks like we got some grazing cattle over there. And then, as we continue along the trail here, going towards this part of the meadow. Yeah, this must be the big Laguna Meadows area. So it must have been closer than I thought. And we got some more interesting possibilities over here. Let's see what we got going on here. I think there might be another vernal pool over there. Maybe there'll be some signage over there. Maybe I'll get lucky and there'll be some signs. But yeah, there's more water over there too. So this is getting very interesting. Yeah, there are more cattle too. Yeah, like I said, they're all in the shade of the trees, so you can't really see them that well on the camera, I don't think. Even when I zoomed in, probably not much visibility, but we got at least 4 now. You can see at least 4 right now grazing in the grass. Now the Hugh Mesicella and the Friends of Distinction song are starting to go into my head now. Friends of Distinction 1969 song, Grazing in the Grass, based off of Hugh Masicella's, I think, 1968 song. Now getting the Grazing in the Grass song going through my head now. Yeah, such a fast up-tempo song too. So yeah, I think this is one of the Laguna Lakes. I wonder if this is Big Laguna Lake. I wonder if this is the Big Laguna Lake. So I'm gonna see if I can get towards it and explore it a little bit. Maybe I'll get lucky. This appears to be one of the Laguna Lakes. That one probably has I would assume that one might have a semi-permanent water feature. But as I'm yapping about that, I'm kind of missing out on this too. Yeah, beautiful Jeffrey pines here. Look at this. Wow. This is a pretty densely packed forest over here. I think that's Big Laguna Lake. I said I've never actually planned a hike to go over towards the Laguna Lakes. I mean, that was eventually going to be something I would get into. But today, I kind of just changed my plans. Yeah, I think this is Big Laguna Lake. I think this is what this is. Yeah. I think this one's at least semi-permanent, I think. It may have some seasonality too. Pretty sure it grows and contracts with the rainfall availability. This one's definitely large. It's much larger. So I think this is Big Laguna Lake. Pretty sure this is. I can see a trail on the other side as well. You sure get a good view of it from up here. I don't know how close I'll be able to get to it. Besides the meadow, it's almost endless rows upon rows of Jeffrey pines. Yeah, I love the forest. Forest is fun. And I'm loving the meadows too, not gonna lie. Oh, there's a coffee berry. Looks like a hoary coffee berry right up there. Frangula californica subspecies tomentella. You can see the little green coffee berries, which are not true. They're not really berries. They're more like drupes. But again, I say that with an air of caution because apparently berries and drupes are pretty closely related botanically. Sometimes some plants' fruits will sometimes be interchangeably called berries or drupes. It depends on the species. But these I would consider more of a drupe because they have more of a pit. A lot of times berries will have the seeds kind of mixed in the interior part of the fruit. Here we go. Yeah. How cool is that? Yep, this is our hoary coffee berry. I think it's got to be the most common subspecies of Frangula californica I've ever seen. Now you go some places. The one I rarely see, the one I see the least is actually the regular coffee berry, which is Frangula californica subspecies californica. That one I rarely see. I don't know, I just don't seem to come across it. That's a plant you typically find at lower elevations, and it doesn't have that gray fuzziness that tomentella has. It is more of a rich, slightly shinier green color as opposed to that grayish color. So that is something I don't really come across too much. Very rarely, actually. And there's another subspecies I do come across, say in the San Gabriel and San Bernardino mountains, and that's subspecies cuspidata, the Sierra coffee berry. That one I definitely come across more in the San Gabriel mountains, the San Bernardino mountains, and obviously the Sierra Nevada. Look at that. That is so cool. What a great view. This is just great. You can see there was a little bit of fire, probably damage, previous year's damage, probably fires or something. Some of these trees are struggling here, but some of the forest is actually quite lush, especially with the trees. Not a huge understory. A lot of Jeffrey pine forest tends to not have a lot of major understory. That's when you start getting white fir, incense cedar, sugar pine mixing in and stuff like that. Sometimes you can get some pretty lush understories. But the drier Jeffrey pine forest doesn't often have it, and a lot of times buildup of a huge understory could actually affect long-term forest health. Despite the fact that it looks lush and healthy, it can carry fire more dangerously up into the crowns of the trees because there's more kindling, especially during the drier parts of the year. So that's always something to keep an eye on, and that's why they do selective cutting. They do selective cutting and logging and thinning to try to manage the forest. Okay, so here are the follicles I was talking about on the milkweeds. They'll get maybe a little bit larger, but they're going to most likely split along this seam, and then little tufty seeds, little almost dandelion-like seeds are going to come flying out on the breeze when that opens up. Yeah, so yeah, back to what I was saying. That's why they do selective logging to try to keep the stands more open. Fire suppression is what allows the trees to grow so densely packed, and that could actually cause a more catastrophic fire. But I will say though, a densely packed forest is pretty easy on the eyes, I'm not gonna lie. Especially when there's a lot of lush understory shrubs. It feels like you're in an area a couple to a few hundred miles further north. Yeah, kind of lost my train of thought as my memory card ran out, but yeah, I was talking about a mixed packed forest. So it's easy on the eyes, very easy on the eyes. And I love going through a forest where there are a bunch of understory shrubs like oaks and mountain mahoganies and service berries. Oh, here we go, an interior live oak. Quercus Wislazeni frutescens. It's been a while since I've been around one of these. It's been a couple months, actually. I don't remember the last time I was at Cuyamaca if I even really noticed any interior live oaks. But that's a shrub interior live oak right here is a younger one. Maybe it's older than I think. Maybe, but no, I don't see any stump in there. So this might be a young one, but it's already multi-stemmed. What a beauty! Yeah, Quercus Wislazeni frutescens. Of course, inside, growing right next to it, is actually a pretty close relative, even though it doesn't look like a close relative. California black oak, Quercus kellogii. These are closely related, despite that this one has got rigid leaves that are spiny edged. Not on all leaves, but a lot of times they're spiny edged. They're really stiff, full of lignins, and are evergreen. Whereas this oak here turns golden yellow, occasionally orange and slight reddish hues, and goes deciduous and leafless in late fall and winter. These are closely related oaks. They're both red oaks in the section Lobati or Erythrobelanus. They are closely related. So closely related that they hybridize. And until recently, I'd never seen their hybrid progeny. Until late last year, I started seeing them. Now I'm seeing them quite a bit more often. The oracle oak, Quercus marehus, is a result of the crossing of these two red oaks. Interior live oak, and in this case the shrub interior live oak, and the California black oak. And I don't know if I'll see any here. That's the only interior live oak I've seen so far today. But if you take the PCT, if you take the Pacific Crest Trail near Stevenson and Monument Peaks, between Stevenson and Monument Peaks, if you're on the PCT just below the west slope of that ridge line where those peaks are, you'll find several oracle oaks. And they are very much intermediate between those rigid leaves of the interior live oak and the softer leaves of the black oak. And that's Quercus marehus. And that's the hybrid of those two. What beautiful country out here. Wow. Yeah, definitely a lot more to this mountain range than what I've shown you on my previous videos. If you've been to these mountains, you would know. So, any of you who watch my videos, you might have seen more of this than I have, and if so, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm just glad I'm finally taking the time to do it myself. So I'm going to go a little bit further in this meadow, and then eventually I think I'm going to start arching backwards, and then try to get across and see if I can still get to Oasis Spring before it gets too hot. So yeah, no big mountain climb today, minimal elevation gain. That's fine. I'll leave the peaks alone, I think. Yeah. Wow, look at this. This is cool. Look at this. This is absolutely stunning. I see a lot more cattle out that way. Because cattle, they do use it. This area is used for cattle grazing. I wonder if there's a trail that goes down there. I don't see any from here. I haven't seen any. I don't think I've seen any trail, at least in recent walking, to get down there. So yes, I'm going to apologize if this is a long video, but I am definitely feeling dedicated to really documenting the heck out of this area, because it is cool. This is nice stuff here. I can hear the leaves of the black oaks rustling in the breeze. All right, we're starting to get some other stuff here coming up. Let's see, some buttercup family plants. Oh no. No, this is it's a type of snowberry, and this one looks like it's the upright version. This is the upright species. This is Symphoracarpus albus, variety laevigatus. This is the upright one. If this were a creeping one, it'd probably be Symphoracarpus mollis. There's another one, Symphoracarpus rotundifolia variety parishii. That's usually a little bit higher elevation. We're probably about 5,500 feet above sea level over here, roughly. So we're not very high up, but yeah, this is definitely Symphoracarpus albus variety laevigatus. Common snowberry. Yeah, these are some decently tall upright specimens here. They're actually very beautiful too. The honeybees are having a field day over here, I could tell. Hear a nice little hum and buzz over here. Very beautiful plant. There's more of it right up ahead. Yeah, this is the big Laguna Meadow. This is definitely it. And we got an older Jeffrey pine coming up ahead too, so stay tuned as I work my way towards it. It's not really huge, but it definitely looks like it's got a little girth to it. Before I get over there, this might be the Areocarpa. This might be the Asclepias Areocarpa. This one looks a little fuzzier, and the leaves are a little broader. But again, I will do my due diligence. These leaves are definitely broader than on the other one that I saw further back along the BLT, the Big Laguna Trail. These ones have broader leaves, a little bit fuzzier. I think these might be the Areocarpas. These might be Areocarpas right here. I'm going to take a picture or two of these, and then I'll finally get over by that older Jeffrey pine. I promise. This is the Jeffrey pine I was talking about. Yeah, this one's got some girth to it. It's not an extremely old tree, but definitely has had some staying power over here. Actually, it's almost like actually, the base is less girthy than about a third of the way up the tree. This is definitely an older tree. Definitely not lacking, I'll tell you that. Definitely has some girth to it. It has a little height. I suspect this is probably close to about 100 feet tall. Some of these trees, a lot of the Jeffrey pines are a little bit smaller, more humble sized, as opposed to where you would expect, like in the San Bernardino mountains. I've shown you some pretty big Jeffrey pines in the San Bernardinos, and some in the Sierras. But I'm just gonna go a little bit off. I'm not gonna do a full bushwhack or anything, but I definitely want to get close to the trunk of this tree. This one definitely has some girth to it. This is definitely a very nice Jeffrey pine. This tree does have some decent girth to it. So this one, see, because that's why I like to get a little bit closer to these trees to really be able to appreciate them. But yeah, this is definitely a nice older Jeffrey pine right here. An absolute gorgeous tree. Look at, branches are large. A lot of times pine tree branches are pretty small usually. Pine tree branches are pretty small no matter how big the trees are. Usually their branches are pretty small for some reason on pine trees. But even some of the branches are quite large, larger than usual for pine trees. Oh, what a beautiful tree. This is absolutely awesome. And this one here's got a little height to it as well. This Jeffrey pine right here. That's a nice, handsome tree. And that's definitely a much younger tree, I can tell. Much younger tree. I'm surprised this one doesn't have wider bark plates on it, because it's not always the case, but a lot of times the older trees will have wider bark plates. This one has some plating. As you can see here, there's some plates. But usually if you're looking at the other relative, the ponderosas will often have significantly wider bark plates than Jeffrey pines. But I have seen Jeffrey pines with pretty wide bark plates too. There's just a lot of morphological difference between individual trees. This one doesn't seem to have a lot of wider plating action. It seems to be sticking more to its more furrowed structure with very narrow plates and more furrowing than plating. Which furrowing and plating are related. It's just I consider it more plating when the ridges, the outer surfaces are wider. That's I'd consider more plating. It does have a little plating, as you see here. Pretty typical cinnamon brown for the bark plates. That one there really doesn't have really much of any plating at all. It's more furrowed. Yeah, this is a very stately, old, noble tree here that's been watching out over this meadow for probably a couple hundred years. It maybe not being I don't know if it's an extremely old growth tree, but it definitely has some old growth. It definitely has some staying power and some time in. This tree has been in service for quite a while, and it does not show any signs of slowing down. And the cool thing about this one is this one's got some pretty long needles. Sometimes Jeffrey pines will have some pretty long needles. These ones here tend to have more regular sized pine needles, but this one here has got some slightly longer ones. Kind of like its close relative, the coulter pine. Coulter pines tend to have long needles, and that's not always the case either. If they're in a drier location than they normally would be expected to be, they would have shorter needles, smaller needles, because it's a drought adaptation. But yeah, that Jeffrey pine's got some pretty large needles, pretty long needles on them. Yeah, look at that. And you can tell this tree's been through quite a bit. Pretty sure this tree's been struck by lightning, probably been struck by fierce winds. So you can see a lot of branch breakage along this tree. And it might have had a second leader. I can see a big scar right up there. This might have had a second leader, and that's why it seems to be leaning this way. I think it's because it had a second leader at some point. Wow, what a monumentous tree. I'm gonna get a couple pictures of this tree. Talk a little bit more about it before I start moving on with the rest of my day. I'm just kind of fixated on this beauty. So yeah, so I'm looking at this, thinking that this had to have been a multiple leader tree, especially because it's kind of flat on this side, and it definitely doesn't appear to have any wind flagging. Wind flagging is when trees are bent or favor growth on the leeward side of the wind, because in areas where the wind is fierce on a nearly consistent basis, it kind of hurts the growth of the tree that faces right into the windward side. So this does not appear to be flagging, but I'm pretty sure that big scar up there, let's see if I can zoom into it again. appears to be from a leader that was broken off quite a bit of time ago, actually. Yeah, right there. You can see there's a big scar up there. That had to have been another leader. Especially the way the scar is looking, the way it's so long from up to down, latitudinally, is probably due to the fact that there was a leader that broke off some time ago. But yeah. So I'm thinking about doing is separating this clip these clips itself from the video, and adding them, making a separate video out of them as another ode to Jeffrey Pine. So this will be part of my hiking video, but this will also be split off into its own video. So I guess we can call this another ode to Jeffrey Pine, the second one I've done this season. And here's this other beautiful Jeffrey Pine right here. This one tends to have a little bit more height to it and a little bit younger age. And here we go. No real plating, just some rough ridging. Rough ridging. So this is definitely not an old growth tree. That is definitely an older growth tree. But this one here, yeah, this one's got some height to it. This was probably about 110, 115 feet tall, probably, I would assume. Yeah, this is a magnificent tree here too. This is a beauty. But yeah, look at that. Yeah, you could tell that tree had more biomass to it. Here's hoping that this tree lasts another long time in good health. So we'll consider this another ode to Jeffrey Pine. So if you're watching the ode video, thanks for watching. If you're watching these clips on the hiking video, thanks for watching thus far. And I will continue on with my hike. All right, so we do have some cattle. There we go. We got some grazing in the grass. And that song is still stuck in my head. Friends of Distinction song is stuck in my head now. I've been thinking about that when I'm not recording clips and I'm just hiking. I always have a song, usually have a song stuck in my head while I'm hiking. It depends. It could be any song, but since I've been talking about cattle grazing and everything, now that song's in my head. Even as I'm filming right now. Usually when I'm filming, I'm usually able to get the song out of my head for at least a minute or two. It's not bad. I mean, I have nothing against the song. It's a pretty cool up-tempo funk and soul song from the end of the 60s. So I mean, I like it just fine. Like I said, I just get songs stuck in my head. One day, a little story time about that. One day I was hiking in Trabuco Canyon in the Cleveland National Forest in the Santa Ana Mountains on the Orange County side of the Santa Anas. And there was a lot of sugar bush. And it's also known as sugar sumac. Sugar sumac's another common name for sugar bush. Nowadays, most people just use sugar bush. But it is a true sumac. But that's beside the point. And I used to just call it straight sugar sumac back then. And I still use that term, of course, but I usually just say sugar bush because that's what most people identify as the shrub, Rusovata. Okay, but the point I want to actually say is one day I was looking at sugar sumac, or sugar bush, when I was hiking along the Trabuco Canyon Trail. And as I was doing it, I started having another late 60s song for the same year, 1969, Sugar Sugar by the Archies. And I kept thinking, sugar sumac, da 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 da, you know. That was going through my mind. Sugar sumac. So instead of sugar, I was thinking sugar sumac. So sometimes I form some pretty interesting associations. But of course, it had to be affiliated with a plant. Of course, knowing me. Of course, it had to have a plant association. But oh, here we are. Now grazing in the grass is back in my head because of these two beautiful cattle, two beautiful cows. Look at them. Beautiful. Beautiful cows. There are a lot more. I remember as I was hiking along, I saw, looking over towards this part of the valley, and there were a lot more of them off in the distance. I think I'm going to probably turn around pretty soon before I end up making this a 20-mile adventure. I'd definitely like to check out more of this trail one day. But I'm glad I'm finally here checking out this meadow area, because it is absolutely astonishing here. And now we're in a real thick Jeffrey pine stand right now. This is kind of keeping me going for a little bit longer. This is a very easy hike. It's gentle ups, gentle downs, not much elevation change at all. But yeah, this is a beautiful stand right here. So this is the stuff that lines the side of the lake right here, or the lake and meadow area. It's a pretty nice forest here. It's absolutely beautiful. And I can hear the wind whispering in the pines. I call it mountain music. When I go hiking, I never put earbuds in. Why do I not want to put earbuds in and listen to music while I'm hiking? It's because I'm already listening to music. Listening to the wind and the animals, especially the birds, of course. Listen to that. That's the only music I need while I'm hiking. And I love music just fine. You can tell I do have some musical background. I mean, not in the sense of being a musician, but listening to music and stuff like that. I'm especially fond of what we would call the oldies. Classic R&B, classic soul music, especially from the 60s, and doo-wop from the 50s and early 60s. Classic rock, of course. And even 90s hip-hop. But I do tend to favor listening to the oldies. So, but I don't need music playing in my ears. I don't need that kind of music playing in my ears when I'm hiking. I want to hear, I want to experience, I want to smell the trees and the plants. I want to see the trees and the plants and the animals. And I want to hear the animals and the wind rustling through the needles of the pine trees. To me, that's the only music I need while I'm hiking. So we're coming up. I'm trying to see what we're coming up to over here. I'm just curious. I'm going to follow this for a little bit more. Just out of curiosity. I think this might lead towards Sunrise Highway, but I'm not sure. That seemed to be heading north now. So this heads towards Sunrise Highway. I might just loop back to my car along the highway. Ooh, hollyleaf redberry. Rhamnus alicifolia. Yeah, I don't get to see this one very often. I used to see it a lot more often when I lived in Orange County, because the coastal foothills and lower mountains would have tons of these. Peter F. Scabarum Regional Park, Powder Canyon, Hacienda Heights and Roland Heights area, the southern edge of LA County. Powder Canyon's got a lot of these. That's where I first experienced this plant and knew what it was. Hollyleaf redberry, and that's the one I would see. And then I would rarely see spiny redberry, its close cousin, Rhamnus crocea, and I would rarely see that one because you don't usually find it super far north into Orange County and stuff like that, at least not in my experience. I would literally have to go down to San Diego County to see that. Now that I live in San Diego County, I see Rhamnus crocea far more than I see this one here, Rhamnus ilicifolia. This one in San Diego County tends to be more towards the higher foothills and well up into the mountains, to the highest elevations here in San Diego County, which are over 6,000 feet. Now, I've seen this shrub close to 7,000 feet, not quite at 7, but getting close to it in the San Gabriel Mountains, Angeles National Forest, near Vincent Gap. I've seen it on other areas that are well above 6,000 feet as well. So, I literally have to go to Mount Laguna to really see hollyleaf redberry. There goes the acorn woodpecker. Okay, so what do we got here? Okay, so this is going to take me back to Prado Camp. I guess this is part of the Big Laguna Trail system. So this is going to head towards Prado Camp. So I'm going to go ahead and follow this. I guess this will lead me back to the campground. And then I can start I guess making a loop out of this is, I guess, what I'm going to be doing today, which is cool. Made a nice little loop out of this today. Okay. Thinking about if I still go to Oasis Spring, I might make a separate video for that. So it's not one 3-hour monstrosity. So I might make that a separate video, or for a separate hiking video, perhaps, if I make it over there, which is a good possibility. It's supposed to be a pretty short hike. So I might make that a separate video, I'm thinking. Ah, this is so beautiful here. This is absolutely gorgeous. All right. We'll see what else I find now that I'm going a different way to get back to the campground. Should be some more scenery for me to enjoy. I've actually been ambling along this. This is just so nice and shady here with the beautiful Jeffrey pine forest. Day's warming up, but it's nice and comfortable under these trees. I'm only sweating a little bit. Not like I have been starting my hikes. The last few weeks I've been out hiking, and it's been very muggy in the lower elevations. It's not so muggy up here. Dew point's usually a little bit lower up here in the mountains. Humidity levels are usually significantly lower, but I don't feel all sticky. A little sweaty. That's normal because I'm walking at a fairly rigorous pace. Oh, but it's not, I'm not all drenched like I normally am, or I have been the last few weeks. Look at that. Look at that sheen, that shininess. That's all birchleaf mountain mahogany seeds. Cercocarpus betuloides, redi betuloides. You can see the seeds, the little tail or feather-like seeds are shining, backlit by the sun. I've mentioned this on my last video, or not my last video, I think maybe it was the video before it. It was one of the videos I was looking at some backlit birchleaf mountain mahoganies. Or actually those were San Diego mountain mahoganies, which do the same thing. They get these interesting pipe cleaner or even feather-like seeds. You can see I get all curly and everything. Those are what cause that backlit white, almost look like white flowers on a sunny day, but they're the seeds of the birchleaf mountain mahogany. And the other species, the curleaf mountain mahogany in the higher mountains of Southern California, and the San Diego one, the lower elevations of San Diego, Riverside, and southern Orange County, they do this too. They get these seeds, and they're backlit by the sun, and it's a dazzling. It almost looks like it's glistening with dew, or like it just rained or something, and the sun just came out. It looks like it's glistening, like it's wet from rain or something. It's a really satisfying look. That's just yet another natural feature to appreciate while hiking here, especially with the California shrublands. Of course, they're growing here in the understory of the Jeffrey pine forest too. They do grow in the understory of forest quite often. But yeah, out in the chaparral, when they're much more densely packed together, it can create quite an interesting backdrop. Yeah, birchleaf mountain mahogany. And ours, the one here is the birchleaf species. And ours is Cercocarpus betuloides, variety betuloides. The leaves are kind of birch-like. Look like little birch leaves. That's why it's called betuloides, or birch leaf. Yeah. Pretty fun, not gonna lie. So yeah, look at that. Just look how brilliantly dazzling that is. I think I need to get a still or two of that. Couldn't resist getting a shot of that Jeffrey pine too. But yeah, birch leaf and the other mountain mahoganies we have here are just such cool shrubs. And if you weren't really knowledgeable about other aspects of this plant, you probably wouldn't even assume, or wouldn't even think to assume, that they're related to roses, and they're related to apples. Not extremely closely, but closely enough to be classified as being in the rose family. Yes, they are. And the common chamise, the one that covers the hillsides with white flowers in late spring, early summer, and then the seed heads turn rusty, reddish brown during the late summer and fall. That's also a member of the rose family, as is the shrub that provides those beautiful red pomes in late autumn and winter, the toyon, also a member of the rose family. That one's a little more believable, because you expect to either have, in the rose family, fruits like rose hips, or fleshier pomes or drupes, like apples and cherries, respectively. But no, this is a member of the Rosaceae, the rose family, as well. So is that Horcalia plant I pointed out earlier on. That's also a member of the rose family. The Drimocalis, the cinquefoils, also members of the rose family. And that large ribbonwood shrub that once you get off the Interstate 8 and start heading up Sunrise Highway, you start seeing some tall shrubs with reddish and brown shreddy bark and very large size. Those are also members of the rose family, the ribbonwood or redshanks, which are actually close cousins of chamise, by the way. But yeah, rose family is a very polymorphous family. Very interesting family too, I may add. Alright, well, I'm heading towards this swale here. I'm assuming the campground is probably not going to be super far away. I think I'm heading back towards the vernal pool. The first vernal pool I saw, and I'm guessing that when I get towards that, I'm going to be rejoining the trail, and I'm going to be heading left on the trail that I started leaving the campground on, and I'm going to be taking that left to head back into the campground. So I'm assuming that's what's happening here. I'm going to have a nice balloon loop out of this. But I can see the vernal pool up ahead. And I think that's up towards Lightning Ridge or something over there, I believe. I think that's Lightning Ridge over there. That might be. Maybe. I'll have to take a look at that and see. I think Peak 5868 might be still on my left. It might be. But we'll see. I'll check in at the junction. Alright, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and bear left here. There's the vernal pool. That was the vernal pool. I can see the little fence where the trail kind of hugs it along the side there. The campground's over there. So yeah, my intuition was right. Peak 5868's up here. Again, I'm not messing with that today. I'm leaving that alone. I'm not going to go off trail over here. I think there actually might be a rule against it, and I'm not going to take that chance. We're hiking through some big sagebrush country here too. Pretty sure this is the regular Artemisia tridentata subspecies tridentata. We might be a little low for, I think we're a little low for mountain sagebrush. Subspecies vasiana would be a little bit higher up, so I'm assuming this is Artemisia tridentata subspecies tridentata, Great Basin sagebrush. And you do get some decent pockets of it here in San Diego County, in the inland foothills, where it replaces more coastal California sagebrush, Artemisia californica, which I point out a lot when I'm hiking closer to the coast and at lower elevations. So I'm just about to hit the junction. So there's the vernal pool. Ooh, what do we have here? Oh! It looked like a... You probably won't see it on camera too, but it looked like a younger California ground squirrel. Okay. So, yeah, I get... Whoa! There we go. Yeah. I don't think you'll see too well on the camera. There's a few of them just rushing around here in the woods. Yeah, that looks like Autospermophilus beachy California ground squirrel. Probably won't be able to see it that well. Oh well. That was like... There were like 3 of them. One of them and then 2 other ones. Okay. So that's where I went the first time to start the loop. What I did is I went out that way, went to the left, went around the fence for a while, then I saw the campground. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to go all the way to the campground, so I just went ahead and went along that way around the meadow and came around. So I made a nice little balloon loop out of that. It's pretty nice. So I'm back in the El Prado campground right now. El Prado group campground. Let's see. Looks like it just loops around here. So yeah, this is where I came. So you can kind of see it here on a map. I'm going to try to map it out as best I can on Google Earth. But what I did, also what I saw was Little Laguna Lake, it looks like. So here's peak 5868. Sorry, so blurry. Peak 5868 is right there, which is the peak up here. So I went around, took the Big Laguna Trail. First went around towards the campground area, went around there. Then I kind of went around this way and then found a connector trail back. So there's a connector trail that comes back here. Otherwise, I would have ended up probably here at the Noble Canyon Trail and at Penny Pines and had to hoof it along the highway. But I'm glad I found a connector trail. Glad I found a connector trail that came down. So I'm kind of glad that that worked out in my favor. And yeah. All right, so I'm back here. And it probably look pretty blurry, so I'll try to map it out as best as I can on the Google Earth map that I normally do. It might be a little approximate in spots, especially because there is some forest cover and it'd probably be hard for me to see the trail underfoot. But all I want to do is just work my way out of this, I guess. A lot of squirrels out today. Yeah, I heard the incense cedars from earlier. And then the cabin should be up that way. That little ranger station cabin from back in the day shouldn't be too far up along this way somewhere. Yeah, this has been a fun hike, and I'm kind of glad I did what I did as opposed to what I intended to do originally, because I got to see the meadow area. All right. I think this will probably about do it for my video for this one, before it ends up being a 3-hour video. But I don't want to wait till I get to a little cabin site. Little little cabin. All right. A lot of stuff rummaging around in the shrubs. Probably more squirrels and stuff. There's the whitethorn site right there. I remember that. I do remember that from earlier, passing by that. So these black oaks are getting acorns on them. They've been producing the last couple of years. So, glad to see that. Yeah, I can see acorns in the trees. It's like the big caterpillar defoliation thing definitely left a mark on these trees. Remember my video from May 29th? I kept pointing out these Pacific tent caterpillars that become Pacific tent moths. And they definitely did a number on some of these trees. I can still see some of the damage. I'm sure they flushed out some new leaves in the interim, but definitely had a pretty hardcore effect on them. All right, I'm gonna go by the little cabin, and that'll be the end of my video pretty soon. So basically, it's gonna be my last clip for this hiking video. But let's go back to this old cabin, like thing here, ranger station, 1911. Yes, indeed. Pretty cool. Nice little piece of our local history. El Prado cabin. First permanent ranger station in Lagunas. Awesome. All right, so I'm just gonna follow the roads out. Now there'll be one big junction where you're gonna bear left. It'll take you out of the campground at the El Prado section and take you on the thruway to get back to Sunrise Highway, which should maybe be about 1/3 of a mile distance. So I'm going to end it on this while I'm heading out. I really enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me on this adventure, checking out the Laguna Meadow area. Finally, I took time to explore that area when I kind of tossed aside the idea of going up there to Peak 5868, and went around the meadow and I got to explore and see some nicely forested areas, and even some older growth trees and some beautiful shady spots, and then some glistening birchleaf mountain mahogany seeds glistening in the sun. Yeah, I'd say today was a success. So I guess that's going to do it for now. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye, and just follow this, turn left at the main road, head out to Sunrise Highway, wherever you're parked. Unless you're parked here in the day use area, if you want to pay $8. I'm good on that. Well, again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the video, and see you on my next adventure.